Welcome back to the channel, and you may have seen my video that I did on the top 10 worst martial arts. I don't know if that one's out yet, but if it is, then you may have seen it. If it isn't, doesn't matter, you can go watch that afterwards anyway. But that gave me the idea to see if I could find a video where someone ranks, in their opinion, the top 10 best martial arts, and I have found that. And it's got 6 million views. So we're gonna watch it and react to it together. I've not watched it, so you're gonna get my raw reaction, I suppose. If you're trying to increase your flexibility and get your kicks to that next level of height in time for the new year, then go ahead to the first link in the description of this video and check out my flexibility program. Quick and easy, you can follow it day by day, very detailed, tells you exactly what to do, and if you follow it correctly, your kicks are going to go through the roof. Mark my words. Okay, let's get into this reaction.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking.
Metatron.
Today we're going to talk about the 10 most effective martial arts in my humble opinion.
Oh, it's good that you said that bit.
Let's get to it.
First of all, it's good that you said "in my opinion," because that's what's going to save him from any possible roasts now. Because some people just claim the best martial art as if it's fact, but obviously there is no factual list. Everything is subjective. Everything is opinions. So obviously, even if you saw my rank in martial arts videos, obviously that was just in my opinion, and I stated that about 50 million times, as some of you pointed out in the comments. But yeah, anyway, let's carry on.
Before we begin, I would like to define the word effective, what I mean by effective. By effective, I mean that if you were to train for a very long time in one of these martial arts, which of these styles would increase the likelihood of you not only defeating your opponent, but actually surviving a fight to death in a street combat situation? Okay,
it's good that he's explained that as well, because best, I suppose this video is called most effective martial arts, but some people say the best martial art, but what does best mean, basically? Best in what? Could be the best as in most fun. That's going to be different to the most effective in combat, but yeah. So this one is going to be based on just effective in real life combat. So let's see. Top 10 effective martial arts.
10,
let's go.
Traditional karate.
Traditional karate
is one of the styles that I have practiced when I was a teenager.
This is sport karate.
It's definitely a very good style, and it has a lot of positive aspects. And the reason why it's number 10 in this list is because most traditional karate styles are based on a system called karate point.
This is... That's incorrect. So traditional karate is not meant to be like based on points or for competition. What he's showing in this clip here is sport karate. That's from the World Championships, I believe. So this is sport karate. So if you said sport karate there, then that would be fair enough at number 10. But yeah, traditional karate is more based on real life combat rather than point scoring. So see what he says about this anyway.
Athletes practicing karate are actually able to perform very, very beautifully.
That's more traditional there, what he's showing there.
The restrictions that this style poses, as for example the idea of having these not
but this is sport karate,
are definitely a disadvantage in my opinion. The fact that you just simply need to hit the opponent and then the fight is going to be stopped, even if the opponent is still standing, simply because you've...
Yeah, I mean, I obviously agree with that, if he's talking about sport karate, the fact that the fight is stopped after a point is scored, so when you're fighting, you'll never get used to carrying on after you've hit them because you will think that it's over. I mean, realistically, you wouldn't do that. Like, even if you're a point fighter in a street fight, you would know not to stop after you've scored a point or hit them. But yeah, I see what he's saying here, but it's not traditional karate.
Scored a point does not make you into a fighter who's used to actual street fight and full contact sparring.
Why not?
Now, some people will argue that these are all rules and regulations that are needed in order for the competition to be safe. But if an actual traditional karateka fighter,
9-time world champion Wayne Otto there,
had to fight for his own life, he wouldn't just stop to the first blow, and he would actually continue fighting. My objection to this is...
Okay, yeah, so I mean, we sort of get the gist there, but yeah, he's just got that slightly wrong there because what he's showing is sport karate, not traditional karate. But yeah, fair enough. We'll take it that he means sport karate.
Number 9, boxing. Now, often when we think of karate,
boxing at number 9.
Boxing, we immediately...
So immediately, I'm going to pause it. Boxing should not be at number 9. I don't think, because if you saw, I mean, obviously that is my opinion as well. His opinion is also valid, but in my opinion, I think boxing should be higher than number 9, because boxing, so using your hands, punches, is what every fight, especially on the street, starts out as. No one is going to come in initially, rarely is going to come in with a leg sweep or I mean, maybe a takedown, but it's mostly going to start with someone throwing a punch. So that's why I believe boxing should be way up the list, like 1 or 2, because if you're good with your hands, you can deliver a quick, effective blow and then get out of there. So in my opinion, I disagree with this, but we'll see what he says.
I think that karate would have an advantage because of the fact that karateka use their legs, whereas boxers don't. But this would be actually a big myth to bust because boxers do use their legs.
That is a myth, yeah.
They don't use them to attack, they do use them to dodge, to move. So leg work is very, very important, if not essential in boxing, just as much as fists. So although a karateka would have an advantage because of the fact that he can use more parts of his body to attack, a boxer is used to full contact sparring, and this, as far as I'm concerned, gives it the edge and brings it to number 9 in this list.
That's fair enough.
Number 8, kickboxing.
Kickboxing above boxing.
Kickboxing, we bring the punches from box together with the kicks and other techniques similar to that, which we find in karate.
See, what he's saying there is obviously what most people assume, that kickboxing is a lot better than boxing because it's just boxing with the kicks. But kickboxing, I mean, generally, not talking about everyone, but in kickboxing, obviously you do have punches and kicks, but the level of punching when you go to kickboxing from boxing usually does decline, because obviously when you're focused on kicks as well, you've got to change your distance in when you're fighting. So you're not solely focused on creating the perfect distance for a perfect punch. More so, you're creating the perfect distance. You're trying to create the perfect distance for a wider variety of attacks. So your punching specifically is going to take a bit of a decline in, I don't know, maybe technique or timing or whatever. But yeah, in my opinion, I would say for the street anyway, boxing is more effective than kickboxing. He's put kickboxing above boxing.
All of this with full contact sparring. This is why I think that kickboxing training
is valid, I suppose.
Although it lacks all the spiritual training that karate has, which is also very, very beautiful, I believe would have an edge against both traditional karate and boxing. Number 7.
Okay, what's he put at number
Judo.
7? Judo.
Now, although Judo is sometimes...
Again, before I talk about what he's going to say, I put Judo really highly in my ranking list because Judo, maybe even... So first of all, I would say in a fight, you're going to go to punch him first. Second, it's probably going to come to a pretty close distance after someone's thrown a punch. So in that range, you're in perfect range to grab them like a judo grip and throw them. So, and then obviously when you've thrown them, you've got full control. You can land on them and, you know, take the wind out of them and stuff, and basically sit on them until help arrives or you want to get away or whatever. So that's why I put Judo really highly. But he's obviously put it at 7.
Considered more of a sport rather than a martial art. I believe that it is a martial art, regardless of the fact that it is now found in Olympic Games.
Yep.
Now, although
that doesn't make it any less of a martial art.
Judoka don't actually train how to use punches and kicks, it is also important that many times that I've seen a judo fighter fight against a karate or a kickboxer or any other stand-up
that doesn't
fighter,
necessarily
if they
matter too
manage
much,
to lay their
that they
hands
don't do kicks and punches.
on the other fighter and they manage to get a throw or to put them on the ground, then it is over for that fight.
I agree with that.
Because the kickboxer or the karateka and even the boxer will not have almost any training on how to fight on the ground.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Although it is possible for a kickboxer to simply deliver a proper powerful kick or a boxer or a karate.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Like if the judoka gets in close to the boxer or the karate fighter, it is wraps. It is over, because obviously no one can throw like judo people can throw. So when it gets to that range, that's why I believe Judo is a lot higher than 7 where he's put it.
To use a perhaps
Skip
using
to the next one.
You need to strike Korean martial arts that you need to strike him hard.
Okay, what have we got next?
This is why, as far as I'm concerned, Judo has a slight advantage over the stars I've mentioned before.
Fair enough.
Number 6.
Number 6, that's it.
Well,
Taekwondo
is a very spectacular Korean martial art that we all remember again because of the Olympics. Taekwondo tends to be very interesting because it's basically the opposite of Western box, as Taekwondo tend to focus almost entirely on their repertoire of kicks.
That's interesting that he's put it there. So obviously Taekwondo, I mean, I know there's a difference between ITF Taekwondo and WTF Taekwondo. ITF focuses more on both, a bit more similar to kickboxing, so punches and kicks, whereas WTF Taekwondo is the Olympic side and they are mainly focused on like tag sparring, kicking. But yeah, I can respect that he's put Taekwondo there. I wouldn't personally put Taekwondo above boxing or kickboxing really, because as I said, ITF Taekwondo is pretty much similar to kickboxing, but it's not full contact. So kickboxing is obviously full contact. Taekwondo is basically kickboxing, but semi-contact in competition anyway. So that's why I would personally put boxing and kickboxing above Taekwondo in the street. Karate, I can understand why he put it at the bottom. Like I can respect that because he put the sport karate one. So yeah, that's fair enough. But yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'll see what he says about this. See what his reasoning is, but behind putting Taekwondo above these other martial arts.
Which is the biggest among all martial arts. Now, this is a very difficult and tough style to learn if you really need to learn those tornado kicks.
Yeah, it is.
Years of practice and a lot of stretching. But it is definitely a very lethal martial art.
I do agree with that.
Positive aspects of this martial art is the fact that it's full contact and that it teaches you to perform really deadly spin.
I didn't think Taekwondo was full contact anymore, but correct me if I'm wrong. If that's true, then maybe I retract what I said. I was under the impression that Taekwondo was a semi-contact sport in competition. But if it's full contact, then let me know, and I'll retract that. But yeah, Taekwondo have deadly kicks. I do agree with that. I've always thought that. Taekwondo doesn't deserve the hate it gets. And obviously the kicks, they do have the best kicks in the martial arts kingdom, definitely, 100%. Yeah, no kicks in martial arts come close to Taekwondo kicks, in my opinion.
Kicks and moves so quickly that if you manage to execute them well, you can one-shot your opponent.
Yeah.
Now, against Judo, I think that Taekwondo can have a slight advantage because of the fact that since they use kicks most of the times, they tend to give a longer distance or longer range.
Yeah, that's true.
They're very good at calculating the proper
range. If they can keep the range, then yeah, definitely.
So it would be harder for a judoka, in my humble opinion, to actually get close enough to a Taekwondoka.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I respect his reasoning there, because he said, because they use their legs more, they can keep the judoka at a distance. And obviously, if a judo guy is at a distance, then he can't use what he's best at. So yeah, I do agree with that. Get to the next one.
And also that they basically don't block. Most of the time trying to dodge, but sometimes that doesn't work. It would have been a lot easier to just raise your hands. Number 5.
True.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
BJJ.
Now, although I would like to put Jiu-Jitsu, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu here as well, together with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I have to say that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a very effective style because it's almost an improved version of Judo, so to speak. They tend to have less rules and regulations.
Sort of.
As one of these guys lays his hands on you.
I mean, I don't know much about this or Judo, to be fair, but I was under the impression that it's not the same as Judo, or like that similar to Judo as what you said. I might be wrong. But I thought Judo was a lot more focused on the throws. And I mean, I know you still do some ground game in Judo, but I thought BJJ was mainly pretty much all on the ground. Whereas Judo athletes or fighters fight standing up until you get thrown. And I thought BJJ, the point of that was to get your opponent down as fast as possible to then basically complete the fight on the floor, which is what I thought. But correct me if I'm wrong.
It's going to be a huge problem. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu seems to be a very effective complementary martial art. I would still recommend the stand-up martial art to be practiced with it, but it's still a very good style that I find particularly effective, and this is why I put it up here.
Yeah, for sure, it's definitely effective.
List. Number 4, Kyokushin Karate.
Oh, we've got karate again.
Theoretically a style of karate. It's very, very different from traditional karate, and I myself consider it to be basically a completely different martial art. Yeah,
Kyokushin karate is obviously full contact, so it would be maybe considered more effective in a self-defense situation. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Obviously, they've got all the kicks of... Basically, they've got the kicks of sport karate, except they practice drilling them in with full power and full contact, so which is obviously good, and I agree with this, that it should be fairly high up on the list. The only thing with Kyokushin is when they fight, they obviously fight with their hands down a bit, because you can't punch to the face in Kyokushin karate, so which is not very specific to street fights at all, because that's arguably the only punch that anyone would go for in the street is a face punch. So that's the only argument that I would put as to maybe why it shouldn't be up there in this ranking list. But yeah, no, Kyokushin is deadly, I agree.
I have had experience in Kyokushin Karate for 1 year in Japan, and I consider it to be a very effective martial art. One thing that it has that makes it very different from traditional karate is the fact that, first of all, it's full contact. Secondly, you can use a lot of knee attacks, you can use your elbows. There is a huge variety of attacks that you can perform. And Kyokushin Karate fighters actually have a lot of training where they simply receive blow.
I think sometimes, I didn't know you could use your knees and elbows in Kyokushin competition. I mean, I know you do it in training, but I've not seen many knees being thrown in Kyokushin karate competition. Maybe I'm wrong there as well. Yeah, I didn't know that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
And get hit constantly in order to get used to being hit so that they can resist longer, even if they were caught off guard. Now this, together with the fact that most of the sparring here, as I said, is completely full contact and it's until KO, definitely brings it up in the list and makes it a very effective style of combat. For sure. Some I agree with that. Of Kyokushin Karate that I have found, and this is the reason why, although it's my favorite martial art, it's actually not the top of the list, is because basically they have a rule whereas they don't allow punches to the face. Now this makes it very, very problematic in order of effectiveness, because again, when you have two Kyokushin Karate fighters fighting each other, that's not a problem. They can kick the face and they can punch the body. But when you have a Kyokushin Karate fighter having to fight with another martial artist who is allowed to hit him in the face.
That's the thing. That's the thing. As soon as you go against someone that is trained to drill you in the face with their hands, then you're going to have a little bit of a problem, because it's not used to what you're used to doing in sparring. So that's the only problem I would say with Kyokushin karate. But other than that, I do agree with him there. I think Kyokushin karate is deadly, and it should have its place in this list.
Number 3.
Okay, what we got at number 3? MMA. It's not really a martial art, though.
Martial art, and it used to be originally just a sort of tournament where people practicing lots of different martial arts would just meet and fight. It has eventually evolved into a single martial art with its own set of rules, which come from lots of different styles. Now,
I would consider MMA just to be a mixture of all the martial arts still. I wouldn't really consider it a martial art of its own, but fair enough. He's put it at number 3, so I wonder what he's put above MMA then.
It's got elements of karate, elements of kickboxing, elements of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, I mean, for sure it's effective, I agree. It's just,
and also a very brutal one.
wasn't sure if it was a martial art.
Those cage fights where the people went out bleeding, you can immediately imagine that fighting one of these guys in a pub would definitely not be a pleasant experience.
Yeah,
this is why MMA
I do agree
in this top 10 list reaches number 3. Number 2,
let's see.
Kung Fu.
Kung
Now,
Fu.
when I say Kung Fu, I am aware that it's an umbrella term.
Kung Fu at number 2. I personally would disagree here, because Kung Fu, they don't strike like boxers or kickboxers. They don't throw like judo guys. They don't, like, they can't tap you out like a BJJ guy. I'm not quite sure what the reasoning would be for putting this so high on this list, but we've got to respect him. We've got to listen to what he has to say.
There are lots and hundreds of styles. Now, please consider that when I say Kung Fu or Gong Fu, I do not mean very specific styles such as Tai Chi, as I don't consider those to be effective at all in an actual fight.
So what styles do you consider effective? Wing Chun?
Preparing you to fight for your life. In this case, when I say Kung Fu, I mean mostly Shaolin Gong Fu and Wing Chun Kung Fu. I found the first to be a very effective style of preparing people not only for fights for your life, but actually for war. Shaolin monks, they train pain resistance.
I mean, Shaolin monks are pretty, like, they are a bit of a beast when it comes to conditioning. I've seen some of the videos of stuff, how they condition their bodies and they do seem very like titanium skinned. So yeah, no, I definitely think they're some of the most conditioned people in the world. I just don't know if they're trained to be the most efficient fighters.
They get hit constantly in order to make their body stronger and more resistant. And it seems that there have been actual scientific studies that prove that a monk's skull and bones are actually several times stronger.
I'm not surprised at that, to be fair.
Because of the training that they do. I find this similar to the concept that we have found in Kyokushin Karate, but even more enhanced. And as far as Wing Chun Kung Fu, well, I find it to be a very pragmatic, a very effective and reasonable style, which trains you to fight quickly, to throw as many hits as you can, and to be incredibly precise.
I mean, what you can see from that little clip there, it was very scrappy, and they were all doing it like pretty much open-handed. You throw a boxer in there, they're going to dodge and counter straight away with a balled fist, and it's going to do a lot more damage than the slaps they were doing there. It's just my opinion, but I don't necessarily think that Kung Fu should be above things like boxing, kickboxing, stuff like that.
Top of this list, and number 1, there is an honourable mention that I would like to make. That is Jeet-Kune-Do. Bruce Lee was one of the strongest martial artists who have ever walked the planet. But the reason why I didn't put it in this list is because of the very
not everyone's Bruce Lee, that's why.
And Bruce Lee's philosophy. What he was fighting against was codified martial arts, just like karate, judo, kung fu, and taekwondo. What he tried to do with Jeet-Kune-Do was
Bruce Lee was good at it, but obviously,
of these martial arts and put them all together.
You can't look at Bruce Lee. You can't look at Bruce Lee as Jeet-Kune-Do, because obviously not everyone's going to be like him. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on Jeet-Kune-Do.
By its style, what this means is that each Jeet-Kune-Do practitioner can be different from the other, as there is no very precise form. This is why, although perhaps some practitioners of this martial arts might be very, very effective, this martial art will not be on this list because of the huge variety of possibilities and variables that we could have within it because of its very nature. So now we move to number 1.
Okay, let's see. What's he got at number 1?
Martial arts style, in my opinion, is Muay Thai.
Muay Thai.
Muay Thai or Thai box is an...
Yeah, I mean, I can respect that he's put that number 1. I actually forgot about Muay Thai, and I forgot he didn't mention it yet. But yeah, that I can back that. That's a fairly valid thing to put at number 1. There's obviously arguments that you could put other things above that, but yeah, Muay Thai, I can't really argue.
Incredibly brutal martial art practice in Thailand. Now, the reason why I find it to
done a
be
bit of that myself
is because of many aspects of this martial art that make it incredibly effective. The first one is the fact that, of course, they fight full contact. They basically use their entire body to hit, not only focusing on roundhouse kicks and spinning kicks, but also elbow and knee strikes.
Yeah, it's brutal. It is brutal.
Is the clinch. So although perhaps they're not used to fight on the ground as much, it is very dangerous to lay your hands on one of these guys.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that.
Start hitting you with his knees, and these people are trained to knock you down when...
Yeah, I mean, knees and elbows in competition just kind of tells you how brutal it is. Like, if you're, like you said, they might not work on throws and stuff, but if you're in the clinch with a Muay Thai guy, they're gonna slip in an elbow, and even if you're a judo guy, being caught with an elbow is going to put you off your throw. So, I mean, Muay Thai is deadly. There are arguments that you could put maybe something like boxing above it, because boxers only use their hands, so their hands are going to be superior, because Muay Thai guys are not known for their boxing. Their hands aren't the best. I mean, they're obviously like good, but they're not as good as boxers. And some might say that in a street fight, you might not necessarily need to be throwing all these kicks and stuff. All you need is to be good at it with your hands. So that's why some people would say, and that's why I put boxing above Muay Thai in my ranking video.
Do so. So even a judoka or a Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner should be very careful. Another thing that really makes this style interesting is the way they train their shin. They hit banana trees constantly with their shins.
I mean, yeah, not everyone does that, but yeah, their shins are very conditioned as well. When I was training out in Muay Thai in Thailand, when I was working with the trainers, that is something that became very apparent how conditioned they are, because you can hit them with a shot that would maybe put someone else down, and they just kind of take it, they tank it and keep moving forward, and it's like they didn't even phase them. So yeah, they're conditioned all over their body. It's not just their shins, they're conditioned on their core, their arms, legs, face, everything, head is all very conditioned. So yeah, I can agree with that, putting Muay Thai so high. When I was working with the trainers, that is something that became very apparent how conditioned they are, because you can hit them with a shot that would maybe put someone else down, and they just kind of take it, they tank it and keep moving forward, and it's like they didn't even phase them. So yeah, they're conditioned all over their body. It's not just their shins, they're conditioned on their core, their arms, legs, face, everything, head is all very conditioned. So yeah, I can agree with that, putting Muay Thai so high. Video on my channel, I basically just put all of the martial arts into a ranking list based on self-defense scenarios. So yeah, let me know what else you'd like me to react to. Tell me in the comments, and hit like on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my flexibility program. First link will be in the description. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.